Coal and coal mines. Find out how some of the dirty energy sources of the past could provide the clean energy of the future. Hello and welcome to the show, and welcome to Gateshead, where they've got a bit of a first in Britain going on. It may not look like much, but beneath my feet, where there used to be coal mines, those seams are now flooded, and the warm water that comes up is helping to heat local homes and businesses, saving on their bills and also on carbon. Also on the show, Britain's green economy surges while the wider economy stagnates. Should there be more to support it in next week's budget? Discontent in Welsh farming as thousands turn out in Cardiff to protest against plans for more tree planting. And
we should be screaming 10-alarm fire right now, but it still feels like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
A new exhibition in London opens featuring beautiful but devastating images that show our impact on the world. But first, with around a quarter of all British homes sitting above old coalfields, could those disused shafts and seams provide a valuable clean energy source for the future? The northeast of England is famous for its industrial past, livelihoods built on powering the country using coal. But having been closed for decades, mines similar to this one in Beamish could have a role in powering the future.
The potential is phenomenal. We've got 23,000 disused deep coal mines across Britain.
And it's something the Coal Authority is very excited about.
This infrastructure that we're sat in now was created by the miners centuries ago, but since it's no longer used, it's filled up with water that's heated by naturally occurring geothermal processes. And we can use the heat in that water as an energy supply for the future.
There are over 6 million homes above abandoned coal mines, and while they can't say exactly how many could benefit, it's something local authorities across the country are looking at as an option. Further along the seam in Gateshead, they've already put warm mine water to good use. By drilling down 150 metres, they've tapped into the tepid mine water. It's then pumped back above ground, where heat pumps, partly powered by an on-site solar farm, raise the temperature further. The water in these pipes has been heated by the mine water, and it goes out from here through a large, in effect, local plumbing system to then heat homes and businesses. 14% of households in the old mining town live in poverty. By using the warm mine water in the district heating system, it keeps bills 5% below the price of gas.
This is the Gateshead mine water heat pump.
The council here believes they're now at the forefront of a green revolution, one that can make a real difference to people's lives.
It's great for the environment, but also it's very economical as well. It's good for the customer.
How does it feel? There's almost a kind of renaissance here from what was a dirty energy source to a cleaner one.
Well, actually, personally, I feel great because my father was a miner. He actually did some of these mine workings in the past. And of course, I think he realised that it was a dirty, dangerous occupation. And actually, because of that work which is done, which is dirty, that carbon-based economy is now benefiting us in a green-based economy.
Tenants in these blocks of social housing are the first in the UK to benefit from this lower carbon form of district heating, meaning they can be weaned off gas without cost to them or any disturbance to their homes. Closer to the River Tyne itself is the Glasshouse International Centre for Music, a charity and home to the Royal Northern Symphonia. For them, the savings they made using the mine water has been a lifeline.
We feel really lucky to be part of the District Energy Network. There's two reasons. There's cost savings for us. It can be up to 5% cheaper than if we were getting it from the grid. And there's also carbon emissions savings. We've got a 2030 net zero target, and thanks to the solar power and the mine water heat pump, that really helps us achieve our target.
Back at Beamish, Charlotte Adams thinks the time has come for her favourite idea.
I do feel it's a vast resource. I've believed in it for a long time. A lot of my early work was looking at water in mines and treating them, and through that I noticed how warm they are. So it's something I've been wanting to do for ages.
So you were a bit of a lost prophet and now you're being listened to at last?
I am, because the drivers have changed now. Back then, 20 years ago, when I started looking at this, we had our own supplies of cheap gas. Now we're a net importer. Now we've got a lot of climate targets as well that we want to meet. So the game's changed considerably over the last few years.
Gateshead may be the first, but there's a good chance they won't be the last to feel the heat from coal mines once again. A great example of the green economy there, a green economy which is growing fast while the economy generally stagnates. That's according to new data that's out this week that shows that in 2023, the UK's net zero economy grew by 9%, making it an economic success story when compared with the stagnation in the wider economy itself, growing at just 0.1% in the same time frame. Net zero now accounts for around 3.8% of the entire economy, more than the whole of Wales. Those jobs are also paid better, with workers in the sector earning around £10,000 more than the UK average. And that green growth is well spread regionally, with no north-south divide. Well, for a little bit more on this, I'm joined by Louise Helem from the Confederation of British Industry, who crunched these numbers, and they're the folk that represent the big businesses in this country. Louise, I mean, very clear that the green economy seems to be good business for Britain.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, I think we see great opportunities from the net zero economy, but actually what we wanted to do is look at the value of the net zero economy already at the moment. And I think you can see from the report that we produced here at CBR Economics and together with our partners at ECIU is really showing that big benefit to the economy.
I just wanted to dig down into part of that, because one of the interesting things is the pretty much even geographical spread. Because when sometimes people talk about the green and green issues, they think, oh, it's only for the rich in the south or whatever. This works for manufacturing areas of the north.
That's right, exactly. So we were really pleased to be able to see that from the report and dig into that next level of detail down. So it's showing not only that impact for the UK economy as a whole, but actually, as you say, there's no north-south divide here. And actually, if you're looking at the regions outside of London, those are often the ones that are already benefiting a lot more from this. And I think one of the things we were really pleased to be able to show in the report as well is the higher level of productivity that we also get from those jobs. So not only those jobs being really well geographically spread, but really high quality, high paid jobs as well.
One of the things that I'd like to dig into here is whether the shilly-shallying, I'm going to call it, from both parties we've seen a little bit on their commitment to spend on green tech. What impact do you think that has?
Yeah, so I think, like I say, we see real great opportunities from the net zero economy, and our members are definitely really keen to be able to see those opportunities realised within the UK. Actually, globally, you can see there's a lot of competition to win these net zero prizes. You've got kind of lots of packages in the US and EU that we are competing with. And so what we would really like to be able to see going forward is to make sure that net zero doesn't become politicised, as perhaps it is in danger of being done going into this election year, and actually
So you're quite worried about what you've seen a bit of the parties using it as a political football, are you?
We're definitely concerned if that continues to be the case, and what members would like to see is that long-term commitment to the net zero targets, and actually thinking about how we can provide more certainty of the path to get there.
If we don't get that, are we in danger of losing the net zero pound or net zero dollar, and it ends up getting invested elsewhere?
Well, that's it. I mean, the UK at the moment has some great opportunities in terms of the natural capital we have, the industry know-how, but that international investment that at the moment we do see coming to the UK is in danger of finding homes elsewhere if we're not able to keep at the forefront on this journey.
The CBI, the Confederation of British Industry, is often seen as a natural ally of the party of business, the Conservative Party. Do you feel they've rather dropped the ball in this space?
As I say, I think what we'd like to see is that this isn't a party political issue, and that actually we do see consensus across the political parties on that. I can appreciate that might be difficult going into an election year, but I think the prizes are so big in this space that that's what we need to see.
Anything particular you'd like from next week's budget?
So I think, like I say, for us, the big thing in this space is around that longer term investment plan. We'd also like to see, again, the next stage of detail around grid connectivity and how they're making sure that those commitments that they have made are being rolled out.
Given you talk about the size of the prize, do you think we should be seeing more of selling this to the public as an opportunity rather than a cost?
I definitely think that that's the case. I think, like I say, there's a huge opportunity here for the UK. Some previous work that we have done here at the CBI shows that you could add £57 billion to the economy by 2030. But what is true is that we need to think about how we do that transition, and it will mean that we need to think about what does that mean for future skills in the economy. So again, that's where I think it's really important to have that plan for investment from the government to really help crowd in private sector investment and think about how everybody can be part of that transition.
Well, thank you very much, Louise. Food for thought there for our politicians in this election year. And food production itself is becoming quite contentious, not least in Wales, where we've seen some farmers gathering to protest against government proposals there. They're concerned about plans to replace EU subsidies with a system that rewards tree planting and natural habitat. Farmers came from all over Wales to gather outside the Welsh Parliament, with many warning that the proposals could take productive farmland out of use and damage their businesses. Sky's Dan Whitehead was there too.
Well, you can see the heavens open here at the farmers' protest in the centre of Cardiff outside the Senedd, but it did not stop thousands of farmers from right across Wales. Let's just show you, they've started to leave because the rain is getting so bad, but I would estimate around 5,000 farmers came down to Cardiff voicing their concerns. One of the big problems that the farmers see is this new subsidy scheme here in Wales, which would require farms to have up to 10% of their farms for trees, for habitat planting, if they want that new subsidy. And that's causing real anger amongst many of the farmers. We can speak now to Becky and Chloe, whose families both farm in Wales. You've got your signs up here and you've been listening to the speeches all afternoon. Becky, why did you feel that you wanted to come down here today?
We're a beef and sheep hill farmer in Powys, and it's just so important to come down and show what it's going to do to us as an industry and as personal farmers in Powys.
And Chloe, one of the big angers amongst the farming community is this requirement in the subsidy for planting trees and habitat. Why are you angry about that?
It's not that we are angry, but it's just, I think we wish they were more flexible. We're more than willing to plant these trees if they really, to gain the subsidies. But it's the fact they want to take our productive land, to plant it on our productive land. We've got plenty, I'm sure there's plenty of farmers out there with plenty of unproductive ground, especially us. With our hill farm, there's quite a bit of unproductive ground. We're more than happy to plant trees on there. But obviously, like I said, they're targeting the best ground. It's just not, it's not beneficial to us, it's not beneficial to them. Yeah, it's just to be heard more than anything and just be more flexible.
I mean, you're both young and you're into farming, which is quite unusual really in the demographic here. You'll be very aware of climate change, and agriculture, is a contributor to it. So, farming is responsible for some of the climate change that we're seeing. So things do need to be done, don't they?
Yeah, it's not viable definitely. The way they're doing it.
No,
we can't continue.
But we're always willing to progress and improve, and we're doing everything that we can at the moment. And I think the government just needs to see that there's different ways of, sorting out the carbon emissions, carbon sequestration. There's plenty of other options other than trees, planting trees. A lot of farmers in Wales are already doing it. But yeah, it's just being, like I said, I think the government just needs a bit more flexible and listen to us more and work with us more. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Thank you so much. The Welsh Government has a consultation open until early March. They say they are open to changing the policies if it works for farmers, but at the end of the day, the subsidies that farmers need to survive will have to go hand in hand with policies that are good for the climate and good for the environment.
We're off to a break now, but when we come back, we'll take you to a new photographic exhibition detailing in devastating beauty humanity's impact on the planet. Welcome back to the show. The government's independent climate advisors made a big intervention this week, writing to the climate minister to warn him against watering down future carbon budgets. Under the Climate Change Act, the government needs to meet emission reduction targets set every 5 years, known as carbon budgets. Now, they overachieved on the last one, potentially giving them a surplus to carry forward. But the Climate Change Committee has warned strongly against doing that.
We have successfully decarbonised the electricity kind of generation part of the economy, but we now have to change the way we drive our cars to electric cars, and we now have to decarbonise our kind of buildings and agriculture, and these sectors are far more kind of challenging. So we really want to see the government accelerate actions, and our unequivocal advice to government is that it should not roll over the surplus in the carbon budget.
The government is already facing action in the High Court, with campaigners accusing it of having insufficient plans to meet future carbon budgets. It denies that and says it will review the Climate Change Committee's advice before making a decision. Now, a new exhibition by photographer Edward Binsky has just opened in London, taking in both awe-inspiring views of nature and the devastating impact of industry. Sky's arts and entertainments reporter Bethany Manel has been along to see it.
Contemporary photographer Edward Binsky has spent the last 40 years documenting man's dominance over the planet. His work explores human impact across the world in all its beauty and bleakness. I came along to Flowers Gallery in Mayfair to meet him and take a look at his latest exhibition.
So this is going right from here into a ship to China.
His collection, New Works, focuses on 3 geological themes: coast mountains in the Canadian province of British Columbia, soil erosion in Turkey, and the impact of coal mines in Australia. He's also captured Canada's shrinking glaciers as ancient rivers of ice recede due to global warming. I started off by asking him if he saw any conflict in creating beautiful images documenting such devastating impact on the Earth.
Every living species takes something from nature to survive, and we as a top predator take quite a bit from nature to survive. And as I've often said, all these things I'm showing would be perfectly fine if there were 1 billion human beings on the planet. The fact that there's 8 billion makes it a problem. Showing this work now and bringing these conversations forward, I think, is urgent.
We're surrounded here by pieces of your new work. How important is the scale to you? Because they're so imposing, aren't they?
So when you get in front of a large 60 by 80 inch print, all the detail is present in a way that we don't even see the world that way. But the lens and the sensors today allow us to see a world in a way that's extraordinary.
And obviously they're a bird's eye view, aren't they? So you're taking them from the sky. How do you physically do that?
Ever since I've started photography, I've always wanted to get up higher and higher. And even my earlier works, when I did mines and quarries, I was always standing on the edge of that quarry or mine where my mother wouldn't approve because it's always broken up rock and it's sort of dangerous. But I was always looking at that view where the foreground, the beginning of the image at the bottom, is at a distance away, and it flattens the space, and you get more of a mid-ground that opens up.
And we are getting a kind of growing voice, aren't we, of climate activists doing more and more sort of extreme things to draw attention to what's going on. What are your feelings around that?
Culture, and the arts in particular, can be a target, and somebody trying to bring attention through art celebrity, I guess. And that's what's happening, is we're taking a famous painting and throwing some paint on it, demonstrating in front of the companies that are causing the problem might be a better place to go, more direct to the source of the problem. But I understand the frustration too.
Your work's a powerful reminder, isn't it, of what's being lost? And you've seen it all firsthand. What do you think the future is for humankind?
We've got a lot of problems, and I think it's you know, if people are going to act, they need to act. The time for words is way over. You know, the time for words passed 20 years ago.
So there's a real urgency to that message.
The urgency is, you know, we should be screaming 10 alarm fire right now, but it still feels like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic.
With his powerful panoramas commanding the room, Binsky challenges his audience to look beyond their backyard. Both celebrating and questioning human ingenuity, his work is a snapshot in time of a world that might not look this way for much longer without changes to the way we use our planet's resources. Bethany Manel, Sky News.
Now, before we go, we thought we'd bring you a bit of good news. Keen viewers might remember a story we did last year about the fight to save an accidental West London nature reserve. Ealing Council wanted to build sports pitches on part of the abandoned Warren Farm, with many residents and wildlife campaigners, including Chris Packham, objecting, as it had rewilded and become home to treasured species like skylarks. In a surprise U-turn, the council has now announced it will designate the land it owns at Warren Farm as a nature reserve, and is working with the landowner of an adjacent field to build the sports pitches there. Well, that's it for now. Remember, you can catch up on all your environment and climate news on the Sky News website and app, or by scanning the QR code that's on your screen right now. Next week, we'll be in the Isle of Wight and East Anglia, looking at how Britain is crumbling into the sea.